Robson. Good play, up goes Cousins. Yes! Good work from the man they call the Newcastle Whippet, Tommy Robson. Although the game might be over, Tommy Robson didn't give up, and he got a good crossover for Cousins to get up and knock one down. Turner just outside the goal area. Up goes Turner. Jones overhead. Hall. Robson. Tommy Robson puts Peterborough 3-1 into the lead.
Hello and welcome to the Western Home Stadium. My name is Phil and this is the pre-match show in association with Mick George. First and foremost, the thing about live TV is that you often see things and hear things going on outside the tunnel that are quite amusing, that you really want to get involved with. The sprinkler's just gone and soaked the Oxford media team. I'm delighted by that, and thankfully won't affect Chris Williams' hair too much. So, what can we expect on today's show? We've already seen our first tribute to Tommy Robson. There'll be a minute's applause ahead of today's fixture with Oxford United in memory of someone who was not only a fantastic player on the pitch, but a fantastic person off it as well. There's plenty more to come throughout the show on the life of Tommy Robson. So what can you expect on the rest of the show? Well, we'll be speaking live to manager Darren Ferguson, who will bring us the team lineups exclusively live and exclusively first as well in association with ABAX. We also have the pre-match press conference from Darren Ferguson, which was taken live earlier this week at the Mick George Training Academy. We also caught up with captain Mark Beevers. Mark Beevers made his 500th career appearance against Swindon a couple of weeks back. So we speak to him about how he's reached that milestone, some of the highlights along the way, and if he can remember his first appearance, which came for Sheffield Wednesday as a 17-year-old. We also speak live to Derrick Smith, live from America. He'll be talking about watching Posh from afar and all that entails. So he'll be used to watching a stream on iFollow as well. We'll also be catching up with Posh legend Gabby Zakuani. He announced his retirement fairly recently, and we'll be talking to him about what comes next for him. We'll also be making sure that you know how to watch today's game against Oxford United on iFollow. Everything you need to know about watching that and how you obtain a match pass will be throughout the show. But first, let's hear Darren Ferguson's pre-match press conference. Sort of mixed start to the season, but they'll be there thereabouts at the end of the season, you would expect.
I'm sure their expectations will be that. A team that obviously got beat in the playoffs. Got some very, very good players, an experienced manager who play a certain way, haven't changed. The philosophy will remain the same with Carl in charge. So it'll be a tough game.
Yeah, they were scheduled to have a game at Crewe on Tuesday. Yeah. I think they had an internal game instead.
Yeah.
I guess for them it must have been frustrating, lastminute.com, that was called off. But they've obviously got their mindset right for this game, I'd imagine.
Well, they're two different days, two different games. Obviously, I'm sure it wouldn't have been ideal for them to have the game called off so late. That's twice and they've had the game called off. We've had a long enough break. They want to play games, and it was a home fixture for them, and they probably would have fancied getting a result. So they had an in-house game, but it's not going to be the same as playing in a competitive match. But it means they've had a good week to prepare for us.
In terms of your squad, obviously you had a reserve game on Tuesday. First half, very, very good, wasn't it, against a decent QPR side?
Yeah, it was a very level playing field in terms of age. In fact, I think we were a little bit younger, and that's what I wanted because I knew they'd be young. And the more senior players I didn't want to play. They just did a training session with the rest of the group on Tuesday morning. So it was an ideal game for the younger group to play. They were excellent first half, very, very, very good. Bobby Compton came back his first 45 minutes since February, I think. He was excellent, really good performance. And there was some real positives. Second half, we didn't find a way of getting out of their press. They were a lot more aggressive. We lost a little bit of rhythm to our game, but fortunately got a late equaliser. So I said to the players, look, take the first half performance out of that, and we have to find a way of finding solutions to problems that the opposition give us. But credit to QPR, they were a lot more aggressive in the second half. But no, there was lots to take out of the game.
With regards to Bobby Coppin, as you say, it's the first game he's played since February. Is he one that ideally you'd want to go out on loan, but probably fitness-wise you need to get more legs into him? Yeah,
there's quite a few clubs who'd want to take him. He came back in the summer. He'd gone away obviously during the lockdown and got himself extremely fit. Physically, he looks fantastic. And then obviously we've had the one or two different issues with him, which have been unfortunate. But he's overcome them, thankfully, and he looks good. He's in a good place. We'll want to get more minutes into him. The problem now is obviously this is the start of the run of Saturday, Tuesday games. So we've got until tomorrow, or possibly we've got beyond that because we can obviously loan him out to non-league. So we want to keep him for a little bit longer, then I'll speak to the boy and see where we go with it.
One player that obviously has left this week, George Boyd. I know we spoke earlier on in the week, but important for him, probably for his long-term playing aspirations, is to allow him to be a free agent, so it gets him the opportunity to get a club before the deadline. Yeah,
there was a lot of things to take into it, for George and for the club. Obviously, I think the best scenario has happened for both. His salary and within the salary cap, we just couldn't get it there. Again, but also he needs to play regular football at the age he's at, and he wasn't getting regular football here for whatever reason. And we've obviously brought in Sammy back, brought Broom in. The emergence of Flynn Clark has meant it's been very difficult for George. So footballing wise, his position, as you've seen against Fulham, his best position is as a 10. So I feel the club and George have made the right decision between them in terms of he now is a free agent, and there's obviously more chance of him getting a club, which we all want because he wants to continue playing. So I'm hopeful that he gets a club. We wish him all the best. We've ended in very good terms. He understands the situation, although he is frustrated with it, but he understood it, and we move on, and he'll always remain a club legend.
A player that has retired, Gabby Zakuani, I think was in the coaching dugout for Spalding United this week. He's been trying to get George to play for him. He's got no chance of that, but Gabby in the dugout, can you see that?
He's a very enthusiastic boy, Gabby, and a great lad. And his knowledge of football should be good. He's a good experience, but he's got that enthusiasm that rubs off. Once as a coach or a manager, whatever it is, you need to be enthusiastic. That's the first thing I look for whenever I see the coaches, the younger coaches, the coaches doing the younger groups. I always look and see what enthusiasm they've got, because if you're not enthusiastic, then it's hard to get that over to the players. So he'll bring that in an abundance. So that's a starting point, and a good starting point.
Well, we're delighted to be joined by Peterborough United manager Darren Ferguson. Darren, starting lineup, any changes?
Yes, one. Jack Taylor comes in for Ethan Hamilton. Nothing that Ethan did wrong last week. I thought he put in a really solid performance. I have to analyse every opposition differently, and I just feel for this game against Oxford, I want to start Jack in there with Brown.
Yeah, first to make it clear, obviously he was tested on Thursday and it came back negative.
Yeah, obviously we have to follow the EFL protocol, which is once players have been away on international duty, they need to be tested. He was on Thursday. We got the results on Thursday evening, so he trained as normal Friday.
Yeah, and as you say, Ethan didn't do anything wrong, and that's just the nature of competition in that particular area of the pitch.
Well, that area of the pitch is really strong, I feel. I've got 4 very good central midfield players. They've all played this season already, so it's a difficult one. And like I explained to Ethan earlier, it's not about what he didn't do on Saturday, because he gave a real solid performance and did what I asked him to. It's just in this game, I feel that Jack I just want him in there with Brownie, like I explained.
And as you say, as a manager, you said it before, the important thing is to explain the decision to them. You spoke to Ethan, and obviously I'd imagine he was disappointed not to play, but understood the reasons he gave.
Yeah, I feel it's important as a manager. It's not nice to explain to the players why they're not being selected, and sometimes it's just a simple case of there might not be a reason. You've just picked a team and you're going with sort of what you think. So, but it's important that I explain it to the players and give them a reason. They might not like it, but at least they respect the fact that I've told them.
Yeah. In terms of the sub bench there, I think Flynn Clark's amongst those substitutes, and that just shows how highly you think of him now.
Yeah, we're at home, so I only wanted one out-and-out defender on the bench. Hopefully that's not a problem. And Flynn Clark's been outstanding, so no hesitation in putting him on the bench.
What do you have to do well today?
We're playing against a very good team. A very good team, and it's really early days, so not a time to be looking at leagues and all the rest of it. I watched the game against Gillingham. They could have scored 8 or 9 goals. They've got some talented players. They've got a very good manager who knows tactically the game well. So what we've got to do well is both sides of the game. We've got to be compact, and we've got to be good on the ball when we have it.
I'll let you go back to watching Rangers versus
Thank
Celtic,
you.
which is currently on at this moment in time. That's Darren Ferguson talking through his team lineup ahead of today's fixture with Oxford. Remember, match passes are available for £10 right now. It's now time for some adverts. Hello and welcome back to the pre-match show in association with Mick George. My name is Phil Adam. I'm currently pitchside here at the Western Home Stadium ahead of today's Sky Bet League One fixture with Oxford United, which gets underway at 3 o'clock. Match passes for iFollow available right now for £10. Go to the club website, which is theposh.com, for all the details to find out how you can watch today's game. We've already spoken to manager Darren Ferguson, who's brought you the team lineup in association with ABAX. Now, earlier this week, I sat down with club captain Mark Beevers. Now, Mark reached the 500 career game milestone with a recent fixture against Swindon Town, and we will speak to him now in part one to find out just about his career to date. Well, Mark, I don't know whether you were, but against Swindon was your 500th career appearance. Does it feel 500?
Well, I wasn't aware of it until you told me on Tuesday, wasn't it? But yeah, it's a great achievement and a nice surprise for you to tell me that, to be honest, Phil. But yeah, it's been, so far I've really enjoyed it, and I feel as though I've got a lot more left in me. So we'll see.
Everyone says, don't they, when they start their career, they'll just be happy to get one appearance. But I suppose when you sort of establish yourself as a player, do you think about things like that, like milestones or anything? Does that come across your mind?
I don't think you do, to be honest. I mean, I think you probably do when you first start playing, like get to 50, then get to 100, and after that it's just thinking about the task ahead, to be honest. Wherever you're at, whatever club, there's always a task, whether it be getting promoted, whether it be staying up, one of the two, and you just solely focused on the task that particular season, and then hopefully stay fit, touch wood. You're part of that, and the appearances rack up. So yeah, it seems to have gone quite quick, to be honest. 500.
Do you remember the first?
I do, yes. The first was Southampton away on a Tuesday night, back when at Chef Wednesday. It was a very, very long time ago. Gareth Bale was there. He was playing left back. We're similar age. So yeah, it was. Wow, that was a long time ago. That 12 years ago. No, 13 years ago.
I mean, obviously, you're a tall centre back. Were you that at that time? Did your growth spurt finish by the time you made your first?
Oh yeah, I was banging my head on door frames when I was 15. I was this tall back end of school, and believe it or not, I was probably skinnier then than what I am now. But yeah, I've always been this kind of height.
Were you someone that sort of enjoyed the gym as a teenager?
The gym? I've been through phases, to be honest. But I mean, I could never actually pack that massive size on just purely because of how long I am, to be honest. So, but yeah.
It's quite difficult, isn't it? If you're that size, sort of lengthwise, people always think you don't want to be too sort of gangly and be described as that. So you have to be able to deal with it physically.
Yeah, I've tried to keep a happy medium. I know what kind of weight is healthy for me, so I can still move, not get too big or whatever. But yeah, you kind of work that out quite early on in your career, and I've tried to stick around that kind of size. Don't get too big or too slim.
And when you get to a milestone like 500, it's very easy to sort of say you've seen it all in terms of what to expect, what kind of games there are, etc. But I suppose to a certain extent you have seen it all, really, haven't you, in terms of the level you've played at, but also the opposition you've come up against and the trials and tribulations that football can provide.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, every game provides something different, to be honest. But there are types of games that obviously, even after 1,500 games, you'll have played the majority of them. To be honest, there are dogfights, there are games where you can play, and there's all kinds of different strikers you can come up against. But that kind of experience just again comes along with all the games that you play. But your sole focus is the task ahead, and it's always that particular game that you've got on a Saturday or a Tuesday night that you're focused on. And you're not even thinking about the amount of appearances that you've got and the experience you've got. It kind of just comes natural to you each game that you're playing, and whatever's in front of you, you'll use the experience that you've got.
Some people know within the first 5 minutes of a game what type of game it's going to be like. Does that come with experience?
Maybe, yeah, partly, but I think, like you say, first 5 minutes, whether you've played in them kind of games or not, you'd be like, well, this is how it's going to be. But also you've got to be, keep your concentration, because games can change throughout that particular 90 minutes. But that's all about concentration.
Yeah, just touching on that game against Northampton, that was at times always going to be a physical threat that they posed, because Smith's a big lad. Did you sort of relish that sort of opportunity? And to a certain extent, when they changed it and put a sort of nippier one on, is that more of a challenge to a certain extent?
I wouldn't say it's more of a challenge, it's just adapting to a different kind of striker. I mean, like I said back there, you've got different kinds of strikers every single week. They started with the big guy, and then they brought a kid on that were a bit quicker and more mobile. So you've got to adapt as a four, not just yourself. Your communication, your positional play changes. But yeah, I think whatever they chucked at us on Saturday, we coped with really well. We knew that the big guy was going to win a few headers. It was just what happened after that we had to be good at, and I think we played it really well.
Hello and welcome back to the pre-match show in association with Mick George. My name is Phil Adlam. We've made our way over to one of the executive boxes here at the stadium for this part of the show. The players are just about to come out for their pre-match warm-up. The goalkeepers are already going through their routine with goalkeeping coach Mark Tyler. And as you can see on the screen below, the team lineup is going across the screen at this moment in time. Manager Darren Ferguson, speaking to us exclusively earlier on, told us there's one change to the starting lineup, with Jack Taylor coming in for Ethan Hamilton. Of course, Jack was away with the Republic of Ireland under-21s this week. A trip to Italy ended in defeat for Ireland. Jack played 75 minutes in that game. Of course, when he got back to Heathrow on Thursday morning, he was tested as per the COVID regulations required by the EFL if a player is going away on international duty. We got those results on Thursday night that were negative. That allowed Jack, of course, to train on Friday and take his place in the starting lineup for today's game. That's the only change to the Posh starting lineup from last week's 2-0 victory over Northampton Town. You've just seen part one of our interview with skipper Mark Beevers after he reached 500 career appearances with the victory over Swindon Town a couple of weeks back. Part two of that interview is coming a little bit later on in the show. We've also got an interview with Gabby Zakuani, which is coming up very, very shortly. Gabby talking about life after football and what he's been up to. Of course, he's been part of the BBC Radio Cambridgeshire commentary team in recent weeks, and I must give you a bit of an exclusive. He is a former Northampton Town player. He was sat in front of me last week at the PTS Academy Stadium, and when Posh scored their first and second goals, there was a fist pump like that, which demonstrates to me that he's very much a Posh man rather than a Northampton man. We knew that already, didn't we? We knew that already. Of course, remember, today there will be a minute's applause ahead of kick-off. That is in memory of Sir Tommy Robson, who passed away very recently, aged 76. The players will be coming out of the tunnel wearing special shirts with Robson 11 on the back ahead of the fixture and ahead of that minute's applause. We're also going to be speaking live to Posh fan Derrick Smith from USA. He is going to be joining us via the wonders of technology. Fingers crossed that works. I should be able to see Derrick as well as hear him as well, which will be an absolute bonus from the recent interview we did with Jason Neal when he was just very much in my ear. Reminder, of course, iFollow passes are available for today's game. £10 for the match pass. Go to the club website, which is theposh.com, and you can find out all the details about how you can watch today's fixture with Oxford United. Now, without further ado, let's bring in that Posh legend, Gabby Zakuani. We spoke to him fairly recently ahead of his commentary debut for BBC Radio Cambridgeshire. We spoke to him in that interview about the game against Northampton. But for now, let's hear what he's got planned after football. Well, Gabby, let's talk retirement first. Hard decision to make?
I mean, it's hard always to walk away from something you've done since you was a young kid. But looking back, I feel quite fulfilled. You know, I sort of feel I achieved everything I could, sort of my level, which was really good. So it was like something I could look back on and be proud of. But I think it was the right call at the right time.
And some people say when they retire, their body was telling them they had to retire, but your body's been telling you to retire for about 20 years.
No, it hasn't. You know what? I feel like I could easily just carry on, but go through the motions. But I never wanted that to be me. You know, I wanted to always be happy and finish on a high. And I felt, you know, especially now it ended up telling that I've got a league title sort of with Swindon. Helped them get that, and I think it's just the right time to walk away with everything going on as well. A lot of uncertainty around, and I've enjoyed time with my family in that time. So for me, it's the right time.
And when you look back at your career, as you say, you've accomplished everything you want to accomplish, really, particularly here.
Yeah, this is it. I mean, like it's great that I get to spend time here, you know, because it's sort of got my best memories of my career, and so I can look back and just be happy and glad to still be part of things, part in football as well.
And actually what you did during your career off the pitch has actually stood you in good stead for what you're doing now, because you always wanted to, you know, help out, whether it be coming in the community, whether it be interviews, and that sort of got you that grounding very early on for now. Yeah,
I mean, I've made a lot of good relationships with people outside the football club, media. I've always sort of been about, even when certain situations where it's a lot under pressure as well. We might have lost the game heavily, but I'd always step up to the plate and do the interview. So I think it's now it's working out well with my current career, you know, and things that I'm trying to do outside football, you know. So it's been good preparation.
And I think as well, because you know, obviously internationally you've had a good career as well, and also because there's obviously international tournaments. Not like I say you can create a niche from an interview perspective, but you'd already done a lot of stuff with the World Service already, so that will be good moving forward. Yeah,
there's a lot of things I'm sort of walking into because of things I did during my playing career, you know. So I always think, you know, I've always sort of been someone that has known everyone everywhere I've been. You know, I've spent short stints. I mean, just at Swindon, I was there for 3 months, but the way they talk about me, you'd think I was there for 10 years, you know. So it's humbling, obviously, but I think it's just my sort of character is quite. I like to get to know people. I'm quite infectious, so yeah, I leave my mark at a lot of places I go.
And you're the most unbiased BBC radio commentator going?
Well, I actually asked the people at the BBC. I said, am I allowed to have a favourite or not? And they sort of guided me through that process. But I think it's quite obvious when I'm commentating who I'm sort of gearing towards.
Is it weird commentating on Posh games? Because I suppose, you know, from your career, you saw so many goals at the other end. But I guess because of your expertise, they're always going to ask you about the defensive side of things. Yeah. And is it weird trying to comment on the current crop?
Yeah, I mean, if I was an expert, there wouldn't be so many high-scoring games at defending. You know? The only thing I could talk about really is one-on-ones maybe and blocking the ball certain times. But when most of the concentration here, especially at London Road, is mainly about the goals. You know, it's about the attacking. Usually, Peterborough's been known for. So it's kind of hard now. I've got to sort of analyse the defence and where the midfielder making runners. So I'm looking at the game a bit more openly now.
And you're doing coaching as well. You've got coaching class set up as well, and obviously your kids seem to want to follow in your footsteps too. Some of them.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, my son's at Chelsea now, so that's it's good now. He made his debut the other day, and it was just good the fact that I can actually watch his games now, where before I couldn't. I never had the time to do anything really. I managed to get away with my kids and see them progress as well in football. So it gives me time to now sort of let them have their time, you know, because they've been travelling all over the country and all over the world watching me. So
is he a centre back or?
No, it's a striker.
So what on earth are you telling him?
No, I don't tell him anything. To be fair, the only thing I can tell him to do is work hard, and that's something I did do, you know. But all I did tell him is just do the best he can and listen to his coaches, and he's doing all right.
Well, I suppose obviously this is a long way into the future for him as a youngster, but because you made a move to Fulham from Orient, you know exactly what it's like to be at a big club.
Yeah, this is the thing. I mean, I learned the hard way where I had to graft first to get my move. You know, he's obviously at the moment he's at a big club, and he's the main for him is to just maintain it and maintain the standards and hopefully get better and better. And there's always careers in the lower leagues, but if he learns as much as he can at Chelsea, there's no higher really you can go.
Hello and welcome back to today's pre-match show in association with Mick George. My name is Phil Adlam, and I'm still in one of the executive boxes here at the Western Homes Stadium. Now, through the wonders of technology, I'm hoping that I'm going to be joined by Derrick Smith from America, Posh fan, who is joining us. I can see Derrick. That's fantastic.
I can see you.
Derrick, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
So what's it like following the Posh from the USA?
Well, it's kind of has a bent where I'm always like what would you say? I'm bearing witness to the greatness of Posh, to a country who is starting to get football mad, and they're always going for the big clubs like Zakuani just talked about, Chelsea and Man U, and all that. Those are the games that we easily get to see on television here. But then I say, hey, do you guys want to come over and watch Peterborough United? And they're like, oh, I think I played them in FIFA, like against them on an FA Cup run with my club or something. So like there's people are starting to get to know about it. But honestly, I brought it up before and people are like, oh, that's the club that has their owner has a podcast, right? The Hard Truth, something like that. I'm like, yeah, he does. So it's funny how it's starting to click. But yeah, everybody around Central Ohio knows me as the Posh man. So I coach a local high school team. It's a U17, U18 level. And yeah, basically they're always like, "Oh, you're wearing your Peterborough shirt again." So it's but it's a good thing. It's starting to grow.
I think Darren will be delighted that people are starting to associate the football club through his Hard Truth podcast. Yeah. But in terms of watching from far, obviously, in terms of the time difference, does that mean you have to get up at ridiculous times to follow your team?
So right now it's actually works out great because my wife just took our kids out to the farmers market. So 10 to 12. My time is perfect. That kind of is a way for me to ease into the day. And then, I mean, pretty much everyone that knows me knows that 10 to 12, I got my laptop hooked up to, my iFollow hooked up to my TV. So I get it in a big screen presentation, but yeah, I watch every match I can. And if I'm on the road, then I pretty much listen on BBC. So.
And in terms of today's game against Oxford, obviously you've watched a few games on iFollow this season. What are you hoping for today?
Well, I'm hoping that the crosses continue to come in and we can find the header of either Dembele or Johnson Clark Harris. I would love to see, that style that they talked about that I fell in love with being a Posh fan. It's not just a long ball and chase. It's not a very precise measurement where you have to have 15, 30 passes right to this one striker who plays a quick combination. It's a mixture of attack, but I love the ball getting out wide to Butler. I love the ball getting on the feet of Schmodix and just seeing what happens. So I'm hopeful that they'll have it. And one of Oxford's best defenders is actually transferred to my local club here, Columbus Crew, Chris Caden. So he's actually playing over here now. So hopefully there's a little bit of a hole in their defense, and Posh will come out on top.
And just for people that don't know, how on earth did you become a Peterborough fan?
Yeah, that was funny too. I was in England last year with a few of my mates, and we were studying over there, and we landed from Denmark into London. The only game, not just in London, but in the entirety of the country, was Chelsea's under-21s, I believe, against Peterborough in the Checkatrade. So not really knowing much, but I didn't like Chelsea. So we tried to get in and being dumb Americans. We showed up late, and they did. The tickets offices were closed. So we were like kind of walking around. Two of my friends got in from an away Peterborough supporter, and they got to sit in the away end. And then me and another guy were just resigned to watching the game in the bar next to the stadium. And then we saw a ticket window. But in the meantime, we had reached out on Posh's social media account and just said, "Hey, we hate Chelsea. We're 4 Americans. Can you please let us in? We'd love to see the game." And then I believe Jake or someone had reached out to me the next day, like, "Hey, we'd love to have you come up to see our home match against Rochdale on Saturday." So I found a way to get up there on the train system and took my bags. I didn't know what to expect, and I was welcomed with open arms and greeted by a lot of people and got to make a lot of friends. So I met Noel Luke, I believe, is a gentleman who, for half the tour, he took me around the stadium. I had no idea who he was. And then I see a picture on the wall, and I'm like, that looks like you. And he's like, "Yeah, it is." So then he kind of told me about that, and so I learned a lot, kind of baptism by fire in a good way. And I've been a Posh fan ever since. Yeah. So if you can hear me, I can't hear you, but I just wanted to just basically to move it along. I just want to say thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be a fan of a massive club, and I'm a huge supporter from here, and hopefully more and more American fans will come along the path and become Posh supporters as well. So thanks. Go Posh.
Hello and welcome back to the Western Homes Stadium. My name is Phil Adlam and this is the Pre-Match Show in association with Mick George. Firstly, apologies for the last segment that we had there with Derrick Smith. We did lose audio right towards the end of the interview. Apologies to anyone who was disappointed with that. I was disappointed with that because I had a problem there. I had Derrick on screen and no way of communicating with him. So I went for the universal UK version of thumbs up, which is my way of saying, yes, that'll do. But there we go. That's the modern technology we're dealing with. Hopefully we can get it resolved. Now, in terms of team lineup, you can see it going across the screen right now. So one change for Peterborough United from last week's 2-0 victory over Northampton Town, and that's in midfield, where Jack Taylor replaces Ethan Hamilton in the starting lineup. The lineup and the substitutes just going across the screen right now. If you've missed it there and you can't see it in the next 2 seconds, then feel free to go to our social media and you can see it there as well. We're going to put some viewer comments up in a minute, but just let me tell you about Matchday Madness, which is back and available until midnight tonight in the Posh Online store, which is poshonlinestore.com. 25% off. Now, let me get this straight. I've got to written this down here. BRXLZ Toys. I have no idea what that is, but I appreciate that you guys might know. So get onto the Club Shop online store and you can get a discount of 25% on those particular items. Now, we've got some viewer comments, I believe, which may come on the screen. Good to see Gabs back in the London Road End. So Steve Collison, yes, Gabs thoroughly enjoyed being in the terrace, to be honest. He was, of course, in the terrace before. Sharon Collins, UTP of the Posh. It's simple. You can't argue with that. That's to the point and very much what we accept. ROBY or Roby. Maybe his name's Ruby. Anyway, fantastic to see we're going international. Yeah, we are going international. There are little mini pockets of Posh fans across the world at this moment in time, including Real Name, who says, greetings from the Netherlands, go Posh. He's obviously got a real name there. Ash TV says, let's go Posh, and 4, count them, 4 exclamation marks. So he's clearly very passionate about the let's go Posh today. The Peterborough United players, just to my right outside, are going through their warm-up ahead of today's game. Now, one thing we're going to show you a little bit later on in the show is the new Tommy Robson flags, which are currently being displayed in the main north stand, just to the left as you look from the south stand of where the home dugout is. We're going to show them very shortly. Now, there are well, a lot of work's been going on this week actually to get those flags ready for today's game, because we've obviously got a minute's applause ahead of today's kickoff in memory of Tommy Robson, of course our record appearance holder, fantastic player on the pitch and obviously a fantastic man off it as well. So we'll be showing you those flags very, very shortly on the show, but it is a fantastic tribute to a brilliant man. Now we're going to go to some adverts. We've got part 2 of our interview with Mark Beevers coming up shortly. Hello and welcome back to the pre-game show in association with Mick George. My name is Phil Adlam. Now, throughout this show, we've been talking about a legend, Tommy Robson, who sadly passed away at the age of 76. He was a fantastic man who made 559 appearances for the club. And this week, a lot has gone on to try and make today a fitting tribute to him. I've mentioned already there'll be a minute's applause ahead of kick-off involving the players and officials here. But this week, thanks to a crowdfunding campaign, there's been a lot of support from fans who've helped produce a fantastic flag. Now, those that have donated, their names are on screen right now. They have all given generously to make this flag that we're going to show you come to fruition. There's two flags. One is a mosaic featuring small photos of Tommy, either with supporters, Tommy himself, with players, officials, former players throughout their career here at the football club. And the second one is a fitting tribute to him. So Chris is going to pan around now so you can see the flags over on the far side of the main stand. They will be displayed there ahead of kick-off today, and we'll be giving you a closer look at that. There are photos on social media right now that you can see, which will show that flag a little bit close up as well. Also, today's match day programme I'm going to show you there features all those small photos regards to Tommy Robson. It is a commemorative programme that is available online through the club shop and also through Curtis Sports. If you go to the club website, theposh.com, you can find out details about how you can purchase that souvenir programme. The programme includes a number of tributes from club officials, former players, including those who played with Tommy in the 1974 championship winning squad. So plenty going on in memory of Tommy Robson today. Now, moving away from Tommy Robson, we are going to go into part two of our interview with club skipper Mark Beevers. In part one, he spoke about all those appearances that he made, including the first one for Sheffield Wednesday as a 17-year-old. In part two, he speaks more about those appearances, but also some advice that he would give to those just starting out on their careers. Oxford today, obviously included in their ranks, is someone you know reasonably well, James Henry. I think he crossed paths at Millwall.
Yeah, Millwall, when I first went down there, James was down there, and we actually crossed paths again at Bolton. He came on loan from Wolves, I think it was. He came on loan to Bolton, so twice. He's a good guy, Gemma. Got on really well with him. I lived with him for a couple of months actually, and having played with him, obviously I know what to expect. But I mean, having gone through a few things today with the lads and the manager on the pitch and on the video clips, we kind of know what it's all about, and I think I'd just echo that, to be honest. If the manager asked me what we're all about, but yeah, he's a player that used to play on the wing, and he likes to come inside now. I think he's got a bit older, but he's a dangerous player. But you know, it's something that, like every Saturday, we'll be assessing their strengths and weaknesses and see what he likes to do.
What was he like as a roommate for a couple of months? And did you have to sort of manage him, or was he quite by your smile, I'm suggesting he wasn't a quiet lad?
No, well, he's a funny guy. Yeah, he's a funny guy, JMO, but not funny as in rowdy funny, like bouncing off the walls. He's just, you know, he's a different kind of guy. I won't go into too much detail, but he's. I enjoyed him. He was a good pal of mine. So it'd be nice to see him on Saturday.
I suppose the longer a career goes on, the more likely you are to come up against these kind of players that you spend, so much of your career with. If you spend, say, 3-4 years at a football club, then you're going to know them inside out. So to come up against them, do you find that sort of weird? I know a couple of weeks ago you came up against them when you played with and a good mate of yours, and I suppose you just have to put all that to one side for 9 minutes.
You do, yeah. I mean, there are quite a few. Like I said, when you get a bit older, there's quite a few players out there that you played with. So especially if they are, you're good pals, you do have to put it to one side and speak to them after the game. It changes nothing in terms of how I look at a game, whether they're my pals or not. Whoever's in front of me, then it'll not change my performance at all. But it's nice to see them after the game.
Yeah, Oxford, I think obviously one of the favourites probably for this league this year, given what they did last year. Obviously had a bit of a slow start and been interrupted by games being postponed through obviously coronavirus. But because of the start we've had, we've already played Sunderland, Fleetwood, really tough games against competitors you'd expect to be there. Do you consider Oxford as one of them as well?
Yeah, of course. I think you have to. I mean, like you say, they did well last year, and I think minus 1 or 2 players have got a very similar squad to what they had last year. Similar to us, to be honest, in a sense that we've got pretty much the same bunch of lads as what we had last year. So they are a dangerous team. We know that, and the way they play, we'll be looking to counteract that and show what we can do going forward as well. We had a good result against them at our place last year, convincing, but it wasn't an easy game. We had to, earn the right to get that performance in, and it was a good day, and we'll be looking to have more of the same on Saturday.
Let's start this interview. We're talking about obviously your first appearance in the Peterborough shirt, for Sheffield Wednesday shirt, and your first appearances in your career. These young lads that are coming through now, for example, like a Benjamin Mensah, who's probably not made his first league start yet, what kind of advice would you give to youngsters now? Because it's obviously you've got a lot of experience behind you, and I guess the game is the same, but it's changed. That's a weird thing to say.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, being a young lad, it's all about opportunity, and you've got to be patient to get the opportunity. I was lucky in the sense that I was really young, and an opportunity came along my way with the first team having a couple of injuries at centre half. I'd just turned 17 when I first made my debut, so I was lucky in a sense that the unfortunate happened for me to come through, which that is the normality of football, to be honest. That is one of the main reasons, not the main, but one of the reasons a player can get that opportunity, whether it's be through suspension, injury, or just through being favoured. But I think patience is a massive thing for a youngster. It's very difficult to get a game at your parent club, I think, sometimes when the team's doing well. A lot of the time you have to go out on loan to go and get some game time and come back and then get back into the fold and get your opportunity that way. So it can be difficult, so I think patience is the best advice.
But Flynn has also demonstrated that if you get the opportunity and you take it, then you can be considered a first-team player, squad player, very, very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, Flynn's been fantastic since he's been training with us. I think he's come on the pitch and in the games he's come on in and done really well. He works his nuts off, and he's a great lad as well. And
Hello and welcome back to the pre-match show in association. Blimey, my voice went completely there. It was like puberty had hit. Anyway, welcome back to the pre-match show in association with Mick George. My name is Phil, and I trust you. I am 38 and not 17. So I follow. It's important, of course, that you follow all the instructions when you're buying your match pass. Match passes are available for £10. They can be bought via the club website, which is theposh.com. There is a simple how-to guide which is coming up, and also on the website it explains everything for you to make sure that you get to watch today's game against Oxford United. Now, BBC Radio Cambridgeshire will be providing the commentary. I know in recent weeks I've had numerous messages. I know Chris and Jake have had messages as well about the fact the commentary is not being patched through early enough. We are telling BBC Radio Cambridge to try and do it a little bit earlier for you, so when the teams come out, you don't have a panic that you're going to be watching the game in silence. Hopefully that will be amended for today, but if it isn't, blame BBC Radio Cambridge and Peter Swan in particular. Now, let's have a look at this iFollow video, which talks you through exactly how you can watch today's game. This guide will help you purchase a match pass or redeem a code for iFollow to enable you to watch our game live through our website. Head to the iFollow section on the menu at the top of the website and click on subscribe. Select your chosen package. For a video match pass, click on check availability, click on subscribe now. Or if you're on a mobile, scroll down to match passes and click on subscribe for the relevant match. At this stage, if you already have an iFollow account, log in. If you do not have an account, please create an account. It's worth noting that your iFollow account is a separate account to your ticketing and shop account. Once logged in, you'll be asked to enter your payment information to purchase your match pass. If you are redeeming a code, enter this into the box and apply voucher code. You will still need to enter payment information if you are redeeming a code, however you will not be charged. When you have successfully purchased your pass, around an hour before kick-off, head to the iFollow section and click on Next Match. The link to watch live will be available here. If you have any issues logging into your iFollow account, please email ifollow@vfl.com. If you have any other issues, please contact the club on ifollow@theposh.com or telephone 01733 865 674. Hello, welcome back to the Pre-Match Show in association with Mick George. It is around about 2:43, so kick-off in 17 minutes' time here at the Western Home Stadium. The Posh players just going through their last-minute warm-ups ahead of the contest with Carl Robinson's Oxford United. If you want to see Oxford's starting lineup, by the way, of course, go to their Twitter if you like. But Posh Match Live have just retweeted it, so if you are following the updates on Twitter using the hashtag PETOXF, you can, of course, see Oxford United's lineup. Now, without Cameron Brannigan today, he is recovering from an eye infection, so is not involved in the used starting lineup today. For Posh, the team lineup is currently scrolling just below my finger. It's quite hard to actually work out where your finger is when you're seeing yourself on the screen, but the team lineup is there, and there is one change from Darren Ferguson, with Jack Taylor coming in place of Ethan Hamilton following last week's 2-0 victory over Northampton Town. In terms of the substitutes, Flynn Clark is among the substitutes. He was back in the squad last week. He played in a reserve team friendly this week, which ended in a 2-2 draw with Queen's Park Rangers under 23s. Nicky Guymer scored the equaliser for Posh after Serhat Tazdemir's opening goal was cancelled out, and then QPR went 2-1 ahead, but Posh kept battling it in that second half. An update from the under-18s. They played this morning. They were 1-0 winners over AFC Wimbledon thanks to a goal from Sean Keane. The under-16s drew 0-0 with the same opponents. And in terms of the FA Youth Cup, the first round draw has been made. Posh are away from home at either Newmarket Town or Billericay Town. Both teams play on a 3G surface. Newmarket is closer. Fingers crossed Newmarket win their first preliminary round game, which takes place next week. If you've got any comments about today's show, other than the obvious, which is the fact that you couldn't hear me towards the end of the Derrick Smith interview, then please do get in touch. You can email jake.baxter@theposh.com, or myself, which is phil@theposh.com. We'll try and rectify those little minor scribbles that we are currently having with the software ahead of the next home fixture, which I think is on Halloween against Shrewsbury Town later this month. We hope you've enjoyed the show in association with Mick George. Let's hope Posh can get the business done and keep the home record going with a victory today against Oxford United.